Hi there. I got a question just yesterday from one of our students about summer vacations. Both parties get to pick a 2-week period of time and they alternate who gets to pick first. And in this year, this student has to go second, but the other co-parent hasn't picked the time first. I suggest that you put together a really brief, informative, factual, friendly, but firm email that you appreciate that it's their year to pick the first period of time for summer vacation, and that you have some plans also. You are looking forward to receiving their dates so that you make sure that you work around them, because you would hate to create a conflict. If you don't get a response to that, I would reference the particular paragraph in the parenting plan. I saw that the parenting plan says give the dates by the end of February. I understand if you have some other details that you're not sure of yet, but if you can give me any idea what you're talking about doing, then I'm way ahead of the game. Another question. How do you recommend dealing with two different views on device usage at each other's home? I'm more strict, Dad is not. This is a common issue. What I'm guessing is there's some difficulty because if kids have different roles at each parent's home, then it creates much inconsistency. It's hard to be the stricter parent. You're probably concerned with them having more use at the other home and getting their schoolwork done. I've totally been there. Well, one of the things we're going to talk about going forward is there are certain common rules, and this is one of them, use of electronics. It's so much harder now because we're doing all our school online as well. It's easy to think that your child's in school and they're actually on Snapchat. There's probably something that he is more strict about. We want to incentivize him to adopt some rules that you both agree to. Your boys are in middle school now, but once they get to high school, you're going to have the same issue arise with cars and where they can drive and how late they can be out, if they can date. So this is going to be something that you'll apply throughout their time growing up. In each year, you think about what are the things that are going to come up this year? What are the rules that we need to agree on? Write out what you want them to be. You ask him to. If he doesn't do it, then you send him your rules. If he does do it, you want to notice what things are important to him and give him some leeway on those things. Things that aren't drastic. If he's willing to agree to limit their access to social media and other things, that you'd be willing to do that. Have a set time. Do it now. I would do it again in September. At the beginning of every school year, let's create a set of rules. I'll be going over what rules are important depending on the age of the children. We want to give a sense of how important consistency is. If they are doing all their homework at your house and they're having more time on the internet at his house, overall, that's not going to help them in terms of their grades. The other thing would be to get some buy-in from the boys. When they're at your house and you have your more strict rules, I would have some positive consequences come from following those rules so that they're more likely to adopt them themselves when they're at his house. They have certain habits in place related to the amount of time they do things, or if there's a time at night that everything has to be shut off. If that's in place, they're more likely to do that on their own, no matter what their dad does. I'll recap. 1, we want to have a list of rules about general daily living rules that we hope that we can both agree on. We incentivize their other parent by noting how much easier it is for them if there's consistency between homes. We ask them, what are the things that are important to you? Are there certain rules that you want me to follow at my house? And if we can come to the middle on some of these, then all around the boys are going to be better off. We want to have the rules in place again next year at the beginning of the year. We want to integrate these rules into the boys' daily living so that it's something that becomes more natural to them so that they monitor themselves more at their dad's house. Another thing that does come up with regard to rules is once they get a little bit older, it's not as prevalent for boys as it is for girls, but sleepovers. I used to have a rule they couldn't have more than one night away at a time. My children would go to their dads and go to their friends for the whole weekend. That wasn't great. It wasn't good for them. I understood that he was very busy. He needed them to go somewhere. I said, can we please adopt this rule one night at a time for a sleepover? and never 2 nights in a row. But if he was going away, he could absolutely call me and my girls could come home and have a sleepover at my house. Another question. Sometimes this comes up with eating. There'll be 2 different rules. One family is vegetarian, the other parent and family are not. It wasn't a problem until the child did no longer want to eat vegetarian food because they had been learning at the other house that they needed more protein. We talked about finding ways to integrate the kind of food they liked, but in a vegetarian way, as well as working on trying to hold the subject of what to eat more lightly. So I think that the child was more hesitant to adopt the vegetarian eating because it was something that he had to do. So if he felt that he could make choices like pizza, etc., choices related to vegetarian, and it wasn't something that was being forced upon him, then there didn't seem to be as much of a difference as what happened at the other house. He would go to the other house and his parent would highlight the differences, hold it lightly, and try to take the pressure off and think of other ways of achieving your goals without necessarily having a hard and fast rule that is different from the other parent's rule. I will set up a Zoom for next week in my meeting room, and it'll always be in the same spot. If you have questions, if you can get them to me in advance, I'm happy to do any little research I need to do for you. I look forward to seeing you. It was so good to hear from you and receive your questions, and I look forward to meeting on Zoom next week. Bye.